Today on Notsam Wrestling, it's time to examine what will John Cena do as a heel? How did Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk become a contender for the main event of WrestleMania? Drew McIntyre has done it again, and what another week. Another week for EO Sky. This is Notsam Wrestling. Welcome to Notsam Wrestling, and I will tell you, as I'm jotting my notes down, as I'm writing my rundown for everything that I want to cover today, and it is an extensive rundown, I go on Instagram, and I see on 3/16 day of all days, Sunday, March 16th, Stone Cold Steve Austin decided to post. Fanatics decided to post. WWE, the announcement is made. Okay? And this is the only announcement. On April 19th, Saturday, and April 20th, Sunday, Stone Cold Steve Austin will be in Las Vegas, as he will be at WWE World doing meet and greets. Now, this is exciting enough. I'm sure everybody, when these tickets go on sale for these meet and greets, are going to go crazy. Imagine being there for WrestleMania weekend at WrestleMania 41, and part of this extravaganza is you get to meet Stone Cold Steve Austin. Huge for any wrestling fan. However, with all the talk, with as great as the end of WrestleMania 40 was last year with The Undertaker and Cena and The Rock and everybody's sitting there going back into childhood. All of us of a certain age just regressing and feeling those feelings again, because ultimately that's what it's all about, isn't it? Feelings. Just the knowledge. This has completely changed the way we must discuss the possibilities for WrestleMania 41. And it's done it in two ways, because we can't get our hopes up, because too often we come up with these dream scenarios. And when the actual scenario differs from our dream scenario in any way, we get disappointed, as if we were entitled to our dream scenario. And that's not what's going on here. The WWE is not putting Stone Cold Steve Austin to do meet and greets because they're trying to tell us something. The only thing they're trying to tell us is, if you'd like to meet and greet Stone Cold Steve Austin, here's when you can do it and the amount of money that you could pay to do it. However, when we are speculating wildly, I can barely even get through rule number 2 because I'm so excited about this. When speculating wildly, you have to remember rule number 3. Everything counts. And this ain't, Stone Cold Steve Austin being on the side of a truck and everybody reading too much into it. This is the fact that of all days, for him to be confirmed in Las Vegas, WrestleMania Night 1 and WrestleMania Night 2 are the days that Stone Cold Steve Austin has been confirmed to be in Las Vegas. Of all days, when we're talking about Cody Rhodes being in a scenario where he may need help, Stone Cold Steve Austin against The Rock and John Cena, Stone Cold Steve Austin is confirmed to be in Las Vegas. When we're having all this conversation about Paul Heyman guys and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and, most importantly, CM Punk, Stone Cold Steve Austin is confirmed to be in Las Vegas. Am I announcing anything? No. Am I speculating wildly? You better believe it, because it is our duty. Now, I'm confirmed to be in Las Vegas as well. April 17th, the Thursday before WrestleMania, I'll be bringing Notsam Wrestling live to the Comedy Cellar in Las Vegas. If you don't have tickets yet, they're already starting to get scooped up, so grab them now. Every time we do a live podcast, it is not something you want to miss, especially when it all goes down WrestleMania weekend. And WrestleMania weekend will officially start Thursday, April 17th, 5 p.m. local time. The Comedy Cellar in Las Vegas is where we will be doing a live Notsam Wrestling. You can get tickets on Ticketmaster. You can get a direct link at notsam.com. But you're going to want to be in Vegas. I mean, we talk about and by the way, we made other announcements on the Raw recap. We made other announcements about Fanatics Fest, but these are superstars we kind of knew were going to be at WrestleMania. Now we got Stone Cold Steve Austin at WWE World, WrestleMania week. Well, it just adds a lot of fuel to the fire that is already there. And that fire really centers around the fact that as much as is going on at WrestleMania, as much activity is happening, you got your Roman Reigns, you have your CM Punks, you have your Rhea Ripley's and Eos. We'll talk about all of it, but ultimately we are at the point where I feel as though John Cena versus Cody Rhodes has gone down the road and is on the road to becoming one of those iconic WrestleMania matches. It's not just an exhibition. It's not just two baby faces going at it from two different eras to find out who's the best. It's super babyface Cody Rhodes versus super heel John Cena. And that, to me, it's hard to say now, but the same way we talk about the John Cena heel turn and are already talking about where it ranks as top heel turns of all time. And I think whoever you ask will easily put it in the top 3, and it ain't 3. So if we can already say that, I think we can already say that bad guy John Cena versus good guy Cody Rhodes. Cody defending the title he won a year ago versus John Cena trying to get that 17th world title now selfishly. I think that's going to be up there on the pantheon of main events. That's going to be up there maybe with Hogan Andre, maybe with Hogan Rock. You know, those iconic, I mean, on a lot of them feature, even Hogan Warrior, I would put up there just when you start thinking about those iconic matches, Austin Rock, that have taken place at WrestleMania. I mean, Cody Cena, you would have to imagine, would be up there. And I think that a lot of it is going to depend on what John Cena truly embodies, truly looks like, truly acts like as a full-fledged villain. Who is John Cena as a heel? And Triple H said that in one of the many controversial comments that is destroying the fabric of kayfabe. Meanwhile, we have the best story. How can kayfabe be being destroyed at the same time as we have the best stories in wrestling? How can both be happening simultaneously? Somehow, depending on who you listen to, they are. But what Triple H said after the Elimination Chamber at the press conference was, I don't know what a heel John Cena looks like. And none of us do. And that's going to put so much weight on what the main event of WrestleMania is going to be. When we now are a couple of weeks removed from John Cena turning heel on Cody Rhodes. And the conversation about who and what John Cena is hasn't stopped. We're getting a taste of it for the first time this week, but what does it look like in that big picture way? Right? I don't think John Cena is going to shave his head. We still have to know this is John Cena. He can't fully transform, but he also can't give us the version of heel John Cena that we love. We love the Doctor of Thugonomics. We think that the Doctor of Thugonomics is great. When the Doctor of Thugonomics showed up to, what was it, WrestleMania 35? I want to say it was WrestleMania 35 in New York. And he confronted Elias. We loved seeing the Doctor of Thugonomics again in that throwback jersey. It can't be the old heel John Cena, because this is the first time that John Cena as a heel is a heel because he's at the top of the industry. Now, when did all of this start? People have gone back to as far back as a year ago when Rock was attacking Cody Rhodes and John Cena's face was right there on the truck. Now, I have never been one of these people that goes, the faces on the truck means something. And rule number 3 is everything counts. So I definitely think that they merit a discussion. I'm not poop, and that's what everything counts means. And we'll talk about everything counts because there's another match that I think is going to get added, or I hope is going to get added to WrestleMania, that is a truly everything counts match in the story. But I don't think the faces on the trucks are an everything counts scenario. I think sometimes it's an Easter egg. I think sometimes they are added in. It's everything counts could mean that it was done on purpose just to get people talking. But ultimately, if the truck pointed to anything, it would have been John Cena's run-in during the Bloodline Rules match, right? I mean, that was there. That spoke for itself. There's been a lot that's happened since then. But I do think that this wasn't one of those scenarios. Some would have you believe that the day of Elimination Chamber, everything got changed and a decision was made. I don't buy that at all. I think that if you just trace it back, that this character was birthed out of John Cena losing the Royal Rumble and what he said at the press conference. What he said at the press conference after the Royal Rumble, that he is basically saying that instead of what he said earlier, he's going back on his word. He said he was coming back to the WWE, he's going to earn everything. He acknowledged that his win-loss record has not been great. He acknowledged that he was going to have to earn his way back into the main event of WrestleMania, and then by the end of the Royal Rumble, he had completely gone back on his word, saying that he thought that he was entitled to what was best for business. What's best for business is for him to be the champion, he said, which is a very selfish way to look at the business. And he said, so what's best for business is that I'm in the Elimination Chamber, and that's the way it's going to be. And you hear people complaining. I want to see John Cena. Why don't we see John Cena on television building up to the Royal Rumble? Of course, building up to the Elimination Chamber. And the reason is because he's a villain already. He's already a bad guy. This is what we said about The Rock when he was a villain. This Hollywood Rock. The guys this is John Cena, Mr. Always Show Up, Mr. Hustle, Loyalty, and Respect. Not displaying those things. We already have the foundation, but we had all developed such an appreciation for everything that John Cena has done over the last 20 years. And we're so excited about this nostalgia run for John Cena, where we're buying t-shirts in every city. I already have 2 of the exclusive John Cena City t-shirts, from where I saw him in different cities. You got to. I got the Indianapolis shirt. I got the Toronto shirt. Because it's just such a fun thing, we thought. But I think that that's where the foundation is laid for this character to turn heel, because that's where he started acting like a heel. And this is such an exciting thing, because it's kind of reminiscent of what The Rock did a year ago, when it felt like The Rock versus Roman Reigns for the 3 days that it felt like that match might actually happen. It seemed like if you go back to day 1 Raw last year, and then The Rock showing up after the Royal Rumble, it was almost just like The Rock is going to play the greatest hits, show up and have a match with Roman Reigns. And then The Rock got keyed into the fact that wrestling's changed. The Rock kind of looked at the scene around him and was like, oh, things have changed. The audience, while they're aware, there's a lot of new people in the audience. And the audience loves the current crop of guys. And the audience wants new. The audience wants to see the legends, but they always want new. So not only is the main event between Cody and Roman Reigns actually more compelling, but they don't want The Rock to play the greatest hits. What's even better than The Rock playing the greatest hits is The Rock doing something new. And now we've got John Cena, who's coming in, and instead of playing the greatest hits like we were ready for and we're all celebrating, John Cena's doing the unthinkable. He's doing something new. He's a villain. I think that as far as traits go, this should be an easy shift, right? You don't have to lose the passion. John Cena's passion and desire for greatness should maintain. It should just be the way that he gets that passion, the way that he uses that passion, and the way that he gets that greatness. That, to me, is where he should demonstrate being a villain. Everything that made him Super Cena. All you have to do is flip that motivation and add a little bit of resentment for the fact that people booed him. He can now finally really lay into the fact that everybody's appreciating him now. But the only reason that they're able to appreciate him now is because he had to walk through those flames of the boos everywhere that he went. He had to give up his life for wrestling so that he could walk into an arena and hear every grown man in the building, 16 and up, chanting, John Cena sucks, John Cena sucks. Bring that in. Explain that to me. Tell me that you're a human being that felt that had to fight through that. And that maybe celebrating it with the same people that said that is not something that he wants to do. He doesn't appreciate that. And the fact that now he shows up and people resent the fact that that he skips steps. People expect him to earn absolutely everything as if none of that counts. No. Everything counts. We all know that, right? I mean, think about it, right? John Cena showed up with all kinds of humility, with so much reverence for everything that was going on in the WWE, like I just said, talking about earning everything. But what happens? What would happen, right? That's all well and good when you announce halfway through 2024 that you will be back in 2025, and don't worry, you're ready to earn everything. And then you get here at the premiere of Netflix and you reiterate that, don't worry, I'm going to earn everything. But the reason that you say that is because you're pretty sure you're going to win the Royal Rumble. You're John Cena. The reason that you say that is because you're ready to earn everything. Except what happens when you're on the apron and Jey Uso shoves you in the back and now you're off the apron? And all of a sudden, instead of the greatest of all time winning the Royal Rumble, the guy from the Usos wins the Royal Rumble. And I'm John Cena and I got to sit there and be like, okay, well, just gee golly, keep earning it. And then on the way to the Elimination Chamber, I got people on the roster, whether you're CM Punk, whether you're Drew McIntyre, resenting the fact that I'm not wrestling a qualifying match. Do you know the business that I'm bringing into this place? And I gotta turn on the TV while I'm filming a movie, trying to get more awareness for me and for the business and for what I'm doing. And I gotta turn this TV on and hear people on my show that I built complaining that I have to wrestle a qualifying match. Excuse me, for the Elimination Chamber. A qualifying match? Excuse me? Then I get to the Elimination Chamber and people are calling their shots. People are acting like this one's going to win, that one's going to win. Some ignoring that I'm even in the thing. Excuse me? And then Cody Rhodes is worried about The Rock when I'm over here, the greatest of all time. And Cody's just like, yeah, this will be fun. Anyway, Rock, excuse me? No. What if John Cena's feet landed on the ground in 2025 in WWE and he goes, wait a minute, I'm here to win the title. Like, I know we're all having fun, but ultimately this ain't fun if I'm not winning the title. So if you guys think that I'm just here to not win the world title, but maybe just have a good time, you're dead wrong. And that's the vibe that I'm getting. What happens if the reason that he was able to be cool with everybody leading up to this is because he thought it was a given that he'd win that title? And when he realized that maybe in this current state of the WWE, being friendly ain't going to get him the title, he has to do what he did. He has to sell his soul to The Rock. He has to snap. And he has to remind everybody, because they want to say he's the greatest of all time, but they're putting him on the pay no mind list. I mean, when you think about John Cena, who was gracious to John Cena? When John Cena was coming up, who was gracious to him? Was Edge gracious to him? No. Was Randy Orton gracious? No. CM Punk. Was CM Punk gracious to John Cena? No. CM Punk sat cross-legged on a stage and credited John Cena's success to John Cena being an ass kisser on television. And what about the legends that came before him? Were they gracious to John Cena? No. The Rock did everything he could to humiliate John Cena week after week on television. Fruity Pebbles. We don't remember this? The Rock returned, went to WrestleMania, beat John Cena. John Cena's the one that has to survive for the next year on television. The Rock gets to go away now. After having beaten the top guy, he gets to just kind of leave for a while. And John Cena's the one that has to recover. He had to wait a whole nother year before he finally got another match with The Rock. But The Rock was not gracious. So if his people that were wrestling at the same time as him weren't gracious, and if the legends that came before him weren't gracious, why is John Cena in a position where he's expected to be gracious? He's not. And I think that's got to be the mentality of this John Cena. So what is the non-gracious? What does the John Cena with no humility in his system look like? Well, first of all, I think Stu the camera guy is out of a job. And we love Stu. For the record, Notsam Wrestling, one of the top podcasts in support of Stu, the camera guy. But I don't think that we have any room for John Cena to let Stu know when it's time to go to work. Because John Cena's in a position now where there's no on-off switch. It's always time to go to work. We're going to go wreck some people. I don't think that John Cena has to run to the ring anymore, which maybe that'll be good. I mean, Stu's going to have to figure out another way to get cardio. But John Cena doesn't have to run to the ring anymore because when you're John Cena, they wait for you. And I think that running to the ring is something that John Cena did because he was hungry, because he was hungry to prove to everybody that he deserved to win. He wanted to run to that ring to get to work, to prove to everybody how much he wanted to be in that ring, how much he wanted to put the work in, and how much he deserved to win. I don't think John Cena feels like he needs to prove this anymore. I think John Cena might resent the fact that people would be asking him to prove it, and thus resent the fact that he should be running to the ring. I mean, he said so at the Rumble. He said so in the press conference. What he's done in this business affords him the opportunity to call his own shots, and this is the shot that he's calling now. You know, I think say what you want about John Cena in any era, but John Cena has always been a guy who's all about commitment. John Cena commits. And based on that, I think John Cena is going to be an absolute beast of a heel. I think in a very real way. John Cena is going to make Cody earn everything. You want to talk about going to work? I think John Cena is going to do everything in his power to make sure that Cody has to go to work every time he's in the ring with him. You know, I've talked about the fact that I believe that there is nobody who does better as a super babyface against a super villain than Cody Rhodes. There is something about a super villain that brings out the very best in Cody Rhodes, and I think that that's what John Cena is going to command. John Cena has been rough on people before. John Cena was rough on Roman Reigns. When it was time to pass the torch, John Cena was rough on Roman Reigns. When it was time to have his match, yes, Austin Theory beat John Cena at WrestleMania 39. But boy, was John Cena rough on Austin Theory on the way to WrestleMania 39. And by the way, John Cena was rough on Roman Reigns, and he was rough on Austin Theory when he was a babyface. Can you imagine in John Cena's brain what he's allowed to do as a heel? How much he's going to be allowed to test somebody like Cody Rhodes? Now, luckily, if there is anybody that can handle being tested like this, it is Cody Rhodes. I mean, I truly believe that John Cena is going to bring out the best in himself as far as a performance goes, and that is going to bring out the best in Cody Rhodes as well. I mean, I think it's going to be absolutely epic. You know, I think that John Cena is going to attempt to do to Cody Rhodes what The Rock attempted to do to John Cena, building up to their match at WrestleMania 28. And I think that Cody Rhodes is aware of that. I think Cody Rhodes is a student of the game. I think Cody Rhodes knows that this match, this pairing, is potentially the rising tide. This is the one that's going to have to raise all ships. This is the one that Roman and Seth and Punk are going to look at and say, that's the level we have to be playing at. That Io Sky and Bianca Belair, that's the level we're playing at. That Charlotte and Tiffany, that's the level that we're playing at. That's what I hope. That's what I would like to see. That's what I think this has the potential to be. You know, I mean, is John Cena's music going to change? I mean, I think it probably should. Doesn't really, that's such a heroic, we all love. Now, look, we are also, many of us that have been watching WWE for a long time are previously conditioned to boo that sound. This is where the yeah boo came from. When he came back at Madison Square Garden at the Royal Rumble, in what year was that? 08 maybe? New York was so surprised to see him that they couldn't help but cheer. But then as they listened to that music, they remembered, oh, we're New York. We're supposed to boo him. Yeah, boo, boo. Now, look, with heel John Cena, you don't want the yeah, boo. Because the yeah, boo proves that the boo is not authentic. It's the yeah that's authentic. It's the sound the sound that comes out of your mouth first is the emotion. The second one is your brain telling you this is what I'm choosing to do. You don't want the yeah, boo. Now, we are conditioned to boo, 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 but we haven't been booing it because we're happy to see John. And we don't want yeah boos either because we want to take this heel turn seriously. So by that respect, maybe we should change the music. WrestleMania is going to hit differently. I think it'll be important if we do, and I think we should change the music. Hogan didn't come out to, Real American or American Made once he went Hollywood Hogan. It would have been absurd. But I think we may, because it is WrestleMania, because it's going to be a big entrance, or maybe it won't be because he's such a heel, I think that music hopefully will be established leading up to WrestleMania. Because we want to know what we're booing and why. I think that he's going to need an aesthetic change. Like I said, I don't think he's going to shave his head. I think maybe his hair will be a little more trimmed up. You know what I mean? Close cut. Not as fun, maybe. Do I think he's going to wear tights? I don't want him to wear tights. And I'll tell you what, because you go back to Hogan, right? Hogan, even Shawn. When Shawn Michaels turned heel, the tights, he didn't completely change his aesthetic. He started wearing the vest, but he was still wearing tights that in a way resembled the Rockers' tights. They just didn't have any fringe on them. They were still, they had the red zebra patches all over them. When Hogan turned heel, he didn't go full Hulk Hogan would have worn that, so I'm going to wear something different. He just changed up the colors, right? He started wearing long tights, but Hogan had worn long tights at that point before. He gave up the trunks for long tights, but Hogan had not been shy about wearing yellow or red long tights. In fact, that's what he was wearing at Bash at the Beach. But he went with the black and white, with the lightning bolts, with Hollywood instead of Hulkamania on the weight belt. I think, Seth Rollins, when Seth turned, he dropped the fatigues, but he wore gear that was reminiscent at least of the Shield. I think John's got to remain reminiscent. If John Cena just comes out in trunks, for example, that may be too far of a departure. Maybe we go maybe a gray cargo short, right? No jorts at all. And not camo either, because he went through that camo phase. What if you wore a gray cargo short? How about that? With some black sneakers. Maybe a gray cargo short with wrestling boots. And the wrestling boots is the big change. But I don't know. Just the idea of him wearing tights is still maybe too much of a departure, but I don't know. I think that there's a very good chance that John Cena wins the WWE Championship from Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. I think that with John Cena as champion, first of all, it leaves WrestleMania on a bummer, but WrestleMania 39 was left on a bummer, so it's not unprecedented. With Stone Cold being there, I think it does change things, but who knows? Maybe Austin will turn heel too. He's done it before at WrestleMania. I think that Cena winning the championship is interesting because there's a lot you can do with it now that you couldn't before. You don't have to worry about Cena not being on TV every week. Because as a heel, why would he be on TV every week as champion? If anything, you can pull that Brock Lesnar schedule where it makes people hate you even more that you're not defending it on television, that you're not even showing up to television. He is booked for Backlash, which is in St. Louis. He's being advertised for Backlash, as is Randy Orton. And that, brings me to another thing. Think of all the baby faces that are on the roster now that you could do matches with John Cena. You could do a Randy Orton versus John Cena match where it's babyface Randy Orton versus heel John Cena. Who would have ever thought? You can do CM Punk versus John Cena, where CM Punk is the babyface and John Cena is the heel. Who would have ever thought? You could do Jey Uso versus John Cena. You could do Sami Zayn versus John Cena. Who knows? You could do Drew McIntyre versus John Cena, and maybe it turns Drew McIntyre babyface. There's a lot you can do, and you can have Cody going through another rebuild phase. Because this is the thing about Cody Rhodes. This is how strong this Cody Rhodes character is. Because people will tell you, well, you don't want to kill Cody Rhodes' title reign. It wouldn't kill anything. These are the same people that would have told you after WrestleMania 39, and they did. They'd put on their pink bathrobes and talk about how you're killing Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes only got bigger. Between WrestleMania 39 and WrestleMania 40, Cody Rhodes only got bigger. And you know why? Because Cody Rhodes is built different. Cody Rhodes is special. These rules don't apply to Cody Rhodes. It just is what it is. Cody Rhodes lost to Roman Reigns. And by the time we got to WrestleMania 40, people wanted to see a rematch so badly that they poo-pooed the idea of The Rock main eventing WrestleMania. There is no other person that people, you built the biggest babyface to face Roman Reigns as with Sami Zayn. That could have killed anybody else because people wanted Sami Zayn to be the one to beat Roman Reigns. You presented this idea of The Rock coming in and being the one to face Roman Reigns a year later. And still, at WrestleMania 39, the Sami Zayn thing was not enough to make people not want to see Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. A year later, The Rock was not enough to make people not want to see Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. And I believe that if you have John Cena beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, you will continue to have that support of people remembering how much they love this Cody Rhodes, remembering how much joy it brings them to support this Cody Rhodes. And that when it is time, whether it's a year after at WrestleMania, whether it's SummerSlam in August, 2 nights in a stadium in New Jersey, whenever it is, you're going to have people that are on that journey. You're going to have people that if Cody loses the title and the next step is a series of matches with Drew McIntyre or a series of matches with Roman Reigns, or whatever it is, you're going to have people that want to be on this journey with Cody Rhodes. And now part of John Cena's journey in his final year in WWE is people wanting to see Cody Rhodes beat John Cena. And you want to talk about passing the torch? You want to talk about doing what is tried and true by the industry? It's one thing for a babyface John Cena to come in, somebody beats him, and we all know John Cena's just doing business. You talk about killing kayfabe. Ultimately, all that does is put John Cena on a pedestal. He did what's right for business. Everybody would know. On the other hand, if John Cena is a monster heel and somebody like a Cody Rhodes or whoever it is has to climb a mountain to finally beat this guy, that is how you pay it forward. And I think that's what we're looking at. What's interesting about this WrestleMania, what's interesting about this John Cena is that usually WrestleMania is the climax. Usually WrestleMania is the climax of the story. WrestleMania 39 was the climax of that first year of Cody Rhodes. And he's back in the WWE. WrestleMania 40 was now the 2-year climax of Cody finally finishing the story. WrestleMania 41 is only the beginning of John Cena as a heel and potentially as a heel champion, which is, very, very exciting to me. And by the way, what about The Rock? John Cena turning heel is a big enough story on its own. But where does The Rock come into this? Is The Rock going to be part of the road to WrestleMania? Is The Rock even going to be at WrestleMania 41? Because John Cena versus Cody Rhodes is a headline in and of itself. Was The Rock simply there to set the plate for John Cena to turn? Or is The Rock part of this Cody-John Cena match? Only time will tell, but I told you when we started this that I had a everything counts match. And that everything counts for me was built on SmackDown inside of 2 minutes. It was a pre-tape. They put Drew McIntyre in front of a darkened brick wall and said, tell your story. And inside that 2 minutes, I said, I got to see this Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre match. He's done it again. Drew McIntyre he's keyed in. I think as good as we all know Drew is, I still don't think people really realize how much he's done. Because I think, when he's in this rivalry with CM Punk is a naturally compelling figure. Anything CM Punk does, especially now, is going to be incredibly compelling. But I think carrying this thing through as many months as it was carried through, it really helps that Drew McIntyre was there, so keyed in on the way stories can be told in wrestling. I had Drew McIntyre, I think it was the live podcast that we did in Cleveland. I think SummerSlam weekend. I think that's when it was. And he said that he was looking at what the Bloodline was doing and seeing how you can tell these long-term stories and elevate storytelling in professional wrestling. And that has been a mission of mine forever. That the way stories are told in professional wrestling can be elevated. And now they are being elevated. I came on here not that long ago and said, for me, I would love to see Drew McIntyre versus LA Knight at WrestleMania. If for no other reason than the fact that coming off of the Royal Rumble, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's aware of it. They're taking little shots at each other on SmackDown. But pretty quickly, on the way to the Elimination Chamber, that kind of died down. And it was like, okay, that's not the direction things are going. And then Damian Priest eliminated Drew McIntyre at the Elimination Chamber. And I said, okay, Damian Priest eliminated Drew at the Chamber. Damian Priest also, I remembered, eliminated Drew in the Royal Rumble. And many times, when we're fantasy booking, when we're building storylines, when we did the Ultimate Show, you can go back and watch it on Peacock. It would be like, okay, well, this guy eliminated this guy at the Royal Rumble, and that sets up a WrestleMania match. But in your head, yeah. But in reality, in a reality where storytelling is elevated in wrestling, in a reality where week to week there is so much happening that we need depth, we need meat on the bone, I need to be able to sit down and tell somebody that's not watching why this story is worth a WrestleMania match, why this is so compelling. Because if you're just going to have a grudge match at WrestleMania, you eliminated me from the Rumble is not enough. And so when Damian Priest eliminated Drew McIntyre at the Chamber, and then John Cena was the one that won the Chamber, I said, so I guess it does kind of feel like it's going to be Priest versus Drew McIntyre. And I said, Priest has done a good job in the build, especially to the Chamber, of being the guy that explains to Drew that he's delusional, of being the guy that tells Drew, that shuts down Drew McIntyre. And I said, okay, this would be great for both of them. I'm a fan of both Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. So this will be a good match, right? And then Drew McIntyre went on SmackDown and reminded me, everything counts. Just when I thought, I don't know if Chamber and Rumble are not, everything counts. It all mattered because Drew McIntyre kind of pointed out to us what maybe some of us, myself included, had forgotten. That the whole time, what was in front of our face was Drew McIntyre and CM Punk's rivalry. That was also what was in front of Drew McIntyre's face. But happening around us the whole time, going back to a year ago, was Damian Priest benefiting from every single time that CM Punk screwed Drew McIntyre. And that is something that has not really been addressed. And finally, we can address it. He built a case that Priest has silently been taking advantage every single time something bad happens to Drew McIntyre. And in a world where it has been established that Drew McIntyre is a guy that is a paranoid thinker, that feels put down upon, that it has this hyper awareness of fair and unfair and justice, that Drew McIntyre has this skewed vision of justice, that to see somebody benefiting off of the perceived injustices that Drew McIntyre has been obsessed with for a year and a half, of course that person would have comeuppance. A year ago, Drew McIntyre went to WrestleMania and won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship from Seth Rollins. Fulfilled his destiny. CM Punk heard him. Damian Priest cashed in. And we all said, here we go, baby. Drew McIntyre and CM Punk is on fire. And that action is what really got the ball rolling for this blood feud between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. And then Punk did it again to him at Clash at the Castle. And so much was made about the fact that this is Drew McIntyre's hometown, and CM Punk embarrassed him, and CM Punk, I'm going to kill you, and CM Punk, I'm going to get you, but I'm going to get my title back. Money in the Bank, gets the briefcase, cashes it in the same night. CM Punk screws him again. Except, let's go back to Damian Priest being the one that took advantage and cashing in the briefcase. Let's go back to the fact that when CM Punk got in there in a referee's shirt at Clash at the Castle, Damian Priest did not hesitate to retain his title against Drew McIntyre. Let's not forget that when Drew McIntyre cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase and CM Punk screwed him, it was Damian Priest that once again was able to leave with the World Heavyweight Championship. So now, not only is Drew McIntyre furious because he has a plan. He has a plan going to WrestleMania this year. And that plan was meant to take effect first at the Royal Rumble, then at the Elimination Chamber, and it was Damian Priest that screwed him both times. We are now at this point where not only is Drew McIntyre mad at Damian Priest for screwing him out of the WrestleMania match that he wants, because let's be honest, if you screw somebody out of the WrestleMania match that they want, and that leads to this WrestleMania match, it's always going to be a less than match. To an extent, you're going, oh, what makes this match is that Drew McIntyre didn't want to be in this match. He wanted to be at a different match. Now, if that's kind of the surface level, but what's underneath is you can now take all the venom that Drew McIntyre had for CM Punk. All of it. The WrestleMania thing, the Clash at the Castle thing, the Money in the Bank thing, all of that now gets pushed forward to Damian Priest because he was there for all of it. Then all of a sudden, this Drew McIntyre Damian Priest match is not something that's been built since the Royal Rumble. This match becomes a year in the making. And now Damian Priest gets to come forward and go like, look, you're now coming to me making my life a living hell because what? Because I tried to win the Royal Rumble? Because I tried to win the Elimination Chamber? Because I was a successful World Heavyweight Champion? You're crazy. You're obsessed. You have your own weird version of what justice is. Bro, get a hold of yourself. I'm going to kick your ass at WrestleMania, and then who are you going to blame it on? It also gives Drew McIntyre a chance, even though he lost ultimately in the war against CM Punk, he can take all that energy, and if he can beat Damian Priest, well, now that all somehow in his own head has resulted in a victory because he beat Damian Priest. So you've now got both Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre are in this position where it's like you talk about who's at the top of the card, and most of us would say, man, Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest should both be in that conversation. When you talk about who should be main eventing WrestleMania, when you talk about who should be the world champion, when you talk about who should John Cena be facing, who should Cody Rhodes be facing, who should Gunther, who should Jey Uso be facing, both Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre are names that come up. So now not only do you have all this personal animosity, but you've got going forward, who's the next guy? And you've built a match that has a hell of a foundation. And it all happened in a 2-minute pre-tape. We'll get back to the show momentarily, but it's time to make nutrition effortless. Today's sponsor, Huel, gives you a complete meal in a bottle, so you don't even have to think about cooking on those busy days. Their Black Edition ready to drink is a total game changer. with 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, and low sugar. It's everything you need to stay fueled up. You know how busy I am. You think I have time to eat, right? You think I have time to do 3 meals a day? No. That's where Huel comes in and saves everything. You could choose between chocolate and vanilla. You can mix it up while hitting all of your goals. Join the community of Hooligans with this exclusive offer for new customers of 15% off plus a free gift using my exclusive code NOTSAM at Huel.com. That's 15% plus a free gift for new customers using my exclusive code of NOTSAM at Huel.com. See show notes for the terms and conditions. Unlock a healthier, easy way to eat with Huel. Nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters. Amazing. An amazing, amazing thing to see. Now, speaking of matches being built for Mania, we already, if you follow these lips moving, I've done a lot of talking about Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins, and the return of Roman Reigns on Monday Night Raw. Immediately after Monday Night Raw, you got to see my reaction to all of it. You get to hear my reaction to all of it Tuesday morning on the Raw recap, which Megan Morant and I host. You can subscribe to it wherever you got this podcast from or watch it on the WWE's YouTube channel. You also got an emergency podcast here on the Notsam Wrestling feed about Roman Reigns returning, and I was accused of glazing Roman Reigns again, and this is something I'll be accused of because I put my one up for my tribal chief, Roman Reigns. That just is what it is. Paul Heyman, but there is still room for analysis of everything that went down and is going down. Paul Heyman showed up on SmackDown this week to celebrate Roman Reigns Day, of course, with the launch of WWE 2K25, but also to announce that Roman Reigns would be on SmackDown this coming Friday from whatever European city they're in. I don't remember at the moment. I know we were in Barcelona on Friday. I know that Raw in Brussels Monday, but I don't remember where SmackDown's going to be. However, wherever it is, Roman Reigns will be there, which is interesting because Seth Rollins and CM Punk are both on Raw, but CM Punk has said that he will be on SmackDown as well. He'll be there. And I don't know, maybe Rollins will be there as well. Because you've set up a tremendous dynamic. Now, Paul Heyman did not address whatsoever that what happened between he and CM Punk in that cage and the fact that Roman Reigns reacted the way that he did. I mean, let's go through it step by step. You had this hell of a cage match. Great cage match that in any other scenario, had it not been a Roman Reigns return, I think would be justified in complaining about the fact that we did not get a real finish in that cage match because it was an awesome cage match that I desperately wanted to finish in. However, it was Roman Reigns. I think we can forgive it for our tribal chief. But first, you have this animosity between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, which dates back to the Royal Rumble, but it dates back a lot further than that. Of course, Seth Rollins trying to take Roman out of WrestleMania this year by giving him that stomp on the steel stairs at the Royal Rumble. But also, Seth Rollins being the one that caused, some would say, Roman Reigns to lose the championship that he held so dear at WrestleMania 40. Seth Rollins being the one that betrayed him in the Shield. It goes very, very deep with Seth Rollins. And there was that emotional connection between Roman and Rollins that Roman was exercising those demons as he tried to end Seth Rollins once and for all. But when Roman Reigns got stopped by security, he looked in that cage, and what did he see? The wise man consoling CM Punk. And he goes right back to November when he was sitting across a table from CM Punk, when they were making the decision for CM Punk to be on the Bloodline side at Survivor Series in War Games. And CM Punk did it for Paul Heyman, and he did it as a favor with the understanding that the favor would be returned. And now what does Roman Reigns see? Paul Heyman consoling and checking on the person who, to Roman Reigns' face, said that Paul Heyman was his wise man before he was Roman Reigns' wise man. And Roman Reigns steps into that cage, and he teaches both CM Punk and Paul Heyman a lesson in that moment. And he takes out CM Punk and ends Monday Night Raw with his finger in the air. To me, you cannot deny the impact that Roman Reigns made. As it stands today, as I talk to you in this moment, for me, this is my night one main event for WrestleMania. For me, this is the match that today, and this could change. A lot of matches are being built, and a lot of momentum is being built for a lot of people, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But for me, right now, today, after I felt about coming off of Raw last week, this is night one. Cody and Cena is night two for me. I don't think, however, that this being a main event is CM Punk's motivation. I don't think that CM Punk getting the main event of WrestleMania is any longer the motivation of that character, right? I think that he still wants to main event WrestleMania, but I think that this is not some way of getting to the main event. You know, I no longer, I should say, think that that's what the favor is. You know, I think that you know, it becomes one of those things with Roman and CM Punk. It becomes one of those things where, you know, remember when your friend got a significant other, and your friend's significant other told you that they weren't allowed to hang out with you anymore. That's Roman Reigns telling Paul Heyman he's not allowed to hang out with CM Punk anymore. We're just friends, dude. We're just friends. Yeah. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to see it anymore. A lot of times that doesn't work out for the new significant other. That's why I worry that the favor could be CM Punk saying that he gets Paul Heyman in his corner whenever he wants it for one match. And if that one match is a triple threat at WrestleMania between Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk, that can be very, very damaging to the relationship between Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. What's really interesting, though, is the venom amongst the 3 and technically 4 with Paul Heyman as well parties. That this has become one of those triple threat scenarios where the energy spiraling between them is what makes this match. It's not about a title. It's not about like, well, I've earned this, so I'm going to get in here, so I'm going to get in there. It's not about that. It's about the fact that a tornado has spun. And these 3 are now linked, whether they want it or not. I mean, technically, I don't feel that I don't think Roman Reigns likes CM Punk. I don't think Roman Reigns likes CM Punk hanging out with his wise man. But that's not where Roman Reigns' true vitriol is. That's not where his true loathing and hatred is. Roman Reigns cannot stand being betrayed. Sami Zayn felt this. Seth Rollins felt it on Monday Night Raw. You know, I think that Roman's hatred, his real venom, is for Seth Rollins. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins' true hatred, and he said so on the Raw Recap podcast. First episode, Megan and I interviewed Seth Rollins, and he said on that podcast that there is an element of love with Roman Reigns, that the two of them are brothers forever linked. He says that he may not get along with Roman Reigns, and he may not agree with what Roman Reigns does, and he may have to stop Roman Reigns, but he doesn't want bad things to happen to Roman Reigns like he wants bad things to happen to CM Punk. So Roman's venom is with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins' venom is with CM Punk, but CM Punk's venom is now with Roman Reigns. CM Punk stepped into this going, Seth, I don't care about you. I'm trying to get to WrestleMania. I don't care about you. And while CM Punk doesn't like Seth Rollins because of what Rollins has been doing to him, ultimately, CM Punk hates Roman Reigns. Right? CM Punk has can't believe that he's stepping back into a WWE where somebody who the original Paul Heyman guy is being told he can't hang out with Paul Heyman anymore. Where Roman Reigns is trying to tell CM Punk what to do inside that War Games cage. No. CM Punk dropped Roman Reigns' name. His third appearance back in WWE, returned at Survivor Series, said nothing. Came back on Raw, basically just said he wasn't here to make friends, he was here to make money. And then on SmackDown is when he started dropping names, and he dropped Roman Reigns' name immediately. So I think you got this tornado of hatred with a sprinkling of dislike coming down under it. And what does Paul Heyman do? Because Paul Heyman's promise from Roman Reigns was Roman Reigns saying, all right, the bloodline won't put a hand on CM Punk. And how did we end Monday Night Raw? Hands being put on CM Punk. You know, I think I would like the favor to be Paul Heyman is in the corner of CM Punk. But then if Roman Reigns wins that match, now not only were you in the corner of somebody else, but you were in the corner of a loser. And you think you're going to now come back and be my wise man? That doesn't feel very appealing. But then what if Punk wins? Punk could win without pinning Roman Reigns, and then maybe it'd be all good with Paul Heyman. But is Roman Reigns, if this does main event night 1 of WrestleMania, is Roman Reigns going to lose 2 WrestleMania main events in a row? WrestleMania 40 and WrestleMania 41, Roman Reigns comes out not successful? It's getting very, very interesting to me. But also, I think that we're building another match that could main event night 1 of WrestleMania. I think Jey Uso and Gunther could absolutely main event night 1 of WrestleMania, but we got some real drama brewing in this women's world championship scene, you know? I would say ever since the Royal Rumble, there has been this acknowledgement of the momentum that Io Sky has been kind of very quietly building, and the amount of people that wanted her to be the one to win that Royal Rumble. And I think that I heard that a lot. I think WWE heard it as well, that when Charlotte won, and there were people who didn't want Charlotte to win, and people would go, well, who do you want to win instead of Charlotte? A lot of people wanted Io to win. A lot of people loved this Io Sky. I think that has been acknowledged and built upon ever since the Rumble. And I think that there were people who might have thought or been worried that Io Sky was taken out of the Elimination Chamber qualifications when she lost the match because Rhea Ripley interfered, and that was going to be bad for Io Sky, but it was absolutely necessary for Io Sky because it was the moment that brought Io Sky into a scenario where not only could she find her way into the championship match at WrestleMania, but she now gets to walk in to the WrestleMania match as the women's world champion. Now on Raw, you had Io come out. She's confronted by Bianca Belair. You got the Io Sky Bianca Belair showdown because Bianca Belair won the chamber, and then boom, here comes Rhea Ripley. And all of a sudden, Rhea's star power, she tries to use it to kind of eclipse what's going on. And all of a sudden, you've got this stare down between Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, neither one of whom is the women's world champion. And Rhea shoves Io Sky out of the way, and Bianca shoves Io Sky out of the way. And what do we get? Io Sky taking both of them out. The fact that, and I don't know, a lot of people speculate this could turn into a triple threat as well. And I'd be fine with it. I would like for there to be some logic into how Rhea Ripley finds her way back in, but I'd be totally fine with it. But the fact that Io Sky stepped up and put both of them in the place, not only does it substantiate Io to the people that are already behind her. When Io Sky steps up like that, the people that have been supporting her are like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been wanting to see. But what it also does is anybody that hasn't been on that wave suddenly gets on that wave. right? Because you see, not only do you get behind this person getting fired up and going, I'm the one that you guys should be worried about, not each other. But the fact that you get this reaction from people who have been waiting for this has everybody else going, oh my God, yes, I'm with you. Yeah, I feel that energy. I'm excited about this as well. You know, I think, and it's really interesting because if Rhea were to get added to this match, by the time we get to WrestleMania, can we build up enough momentum behind Io Sky that she becomes the favorite? It's odd to think, especially after last year's WrestleMania, that at this stage in her career, Rhea Ripley would come in as anything but the favorite in any WrestleMania match. But we've got a very unique scenario and something very special building around Io Sky. And however many weeks, what do you got? You got about a month still to build this thing. If you continue on this methodical route to not only acknowledge but build the momentum behind Io, you could have, by the time you get to WrestleMania, not only have Io, who you can make an argument is legitimately the best women's wrestler in the division, but you've now built somebody who's yet another person with that star power. And I talk about the star power that Rhea Ripley has. I talk about the star power that Bianca has. I'm talking about the star power that Charlotte has. I'm talking about the star power that Tiffany Stratton is coming into. You get Becky Lynch back. She's got that kind of star power. If you can build Io to not just being a favorite for people that are there watching every week, but to have that star power, I think that you may be on the precipice of that. And regardless of who wins at WrestleMania, I think that if we continue down the road that we're on right now, Io's WrestleMania entrance could be something very, very spectacular. The same way Rhea's entrance was something very, very spectacular last year, as much as it was a big deal, that Rhea Ripley Becky Lynch match. What was really special, and I think the memory that I have from that, was the Rhea Ripley entrance, where that was the moment, that was the coming of age, that was she is the WrestleMania star of the women's division, and you recognize that in the entrance. That could be something that you build for Io Sky, and it's something that I would love to see, personally. We'll see if it comes to fruition, because I really think that as long as you stay down this road that you're on right now, you can get there, and you may even get to a place where it's like, there's no arguing about Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Io Sky may be the one. By the time you get to WrestleMania, and a lot's going to change between now and WrestleMania. But I would also say a lot is changing, and we will get to emails, but we got a lot to talk about today. I told you we had a lot to talk about today. A lot is changing in the bloodline. While we've got these are the things that we've been talking about today, the Drew McIntyre, the Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, the Cody Rhodes, John Cena, the Io Sky stuff, the Charlotte Flair stuff, that stuff is right in front of our faces. But I'm telling you right now, right under our nose, we got something very fun cooking with the bloodline. And you know I love to talk about the bloodline, and I could feel it. On SmackDown, I said, okay, there's something cooking here. There's something real fun here. So Big Jim Uso, Big Brother Jim, is out there looking for a United States Championship match against LA Knight. LA Knight is there as the new U.S. champion. He beat Shinsuke Nakamura last week on SmackDown. And here's Big Jim going, you know what? I'm realizing that I need to get my ass to WrestleMania, and I don't know how else to get there. So I'm going to go ahead and challenge you for the United States Championship. And then here comes Solo Sikoa. The interruption from the group formerly known as the New Bloodline, now simply Solo Sikoa with Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu. Of course, by the way, Jacob Fatu is there. Fatu! So, Solo Sikoa has the mic, and he's back to being swaggy, by the way. He's up to tricks. Solo Sikoa is always up to tricks. Swaggy Solo comes out, and he says that there's only one person, and he's pointing to himself, that should get the opportunity for that United States Championship. And that person is very obviously Jacob Fatu. And everybody goes, Jacob Fatu? And he talks about Jacob Fatu being the one to bring the United States Championship back to the family. Then he and Big Brother Jim have an argument about who's the bigger failure. Is Jimmy Uso a failure? Or is it Solo, who's a failure. And, of course, Big Jim brings up the fact that Solo lost the Ula Fala to the tribal chief Roman Reigns, right? And now they're at each other's throats. Look, Solo Sikoa, to me, is clearly up to something. He's up to no good. I think that as much as we were thinking we'd love to see a Solo Sikoa, and when I say we, I mean me, I want to see Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu. It feels like we may be headed toward, maybe it's going to be a multi-man match for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. I mean, maybe it'll be LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso. Maybe we'll do a multi-man match before we get to WrestleMania. I don't know, but at some point it feels like it feels like they're building multiple contenders for the United States Championship for whatever reason. But more importantly, it doesn't feel like the bloodline breakup, the new bloodline breakup is coming for WrestleMania to me. Because it feels like they're too succinct on the same page right now. That if they were to break up, you'd have to go like, okay, and in 2 weeks we're going to do Jacob versus Solo, which could happen. It could 100% happen. But I feel as though Solo Sikoa is back to being manipulative. I think Solo Sikoa is aware that he's lost all of his power because he no longer has the Ulafala. And he said that if Roman Reigns is the tribal chief, that we'll all acknowledge Roman Reigns. And Jacob Fatu doesn't forget anything. But I think what Solo wants to do right now is use all of his power to get Jacob Fatu on his side. What's more important than Solo being the United States champion is making sure that not only they have the championship inside the family, but that Jacob Fatu is on his side, that we forget about all that stuff that we said before. And go like, no, I'm going to help you win this United States championship. You're going to be the champion, Jacob. You're going to be the champion. Don't worry about anything. I'm going to help you get there. You just follow me. Follow my lead. Don't worry about it. This is where we're focused right now. You know, I think Solo Sikoa is doing some manipulation. And I feel as though the road that we're on will get to a Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa match after WrestleMania. I think that we're at the point now where not only can we speculate wildly on WrestleMania, we can speculate wildly on what may happen right after WrestleMania. And if it's me, I've got Jacob Fatu finally putting hands on Solo Sikoa on the SmackDown after WrestleMania. That's when I would love to see it happen. I would love to see whatever's going to happen at WrestleMania happen at WrestleMania. Maybe a miscommunication. Maybe Solo screws up. Maybe his true colors are shown. I don't know. But then Jacob turns around and on SmackDown cleans house after WrestleMania. And we finish WrestleMania 41 and the next year leading to WrestleMania 42 is that build of a babyface Jacob Fatu. Because that's when, whether it happens at Backlash or further down the road, that's when we start to get to Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu. Who knows? If John Cena is a heel with the WWE Championship and Jacob Fatu is now a babyface, what if babyface Jacob Fatu challenges John Cena for the WWE Championship at some point inside the calendar year? What happens then? What happens if by the time we get to WrestleMania 42, Roman Reigns is back to being a heel? Because he's showing heelish tendencies in the CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns thing. What if he's back to being a villain? And what if we can build to Jacob Fatu as a babyface versus Roman Reigns as a heel for a WrestleMania, for a SummerSlam, for something like that? That's just where I see it going, or where I'd like to see it going. But for me, I think these seeds are being planted to get there. Now, also want to give a few quick shout outs. Number one, NXT had a great show at the theater at Madison Square Garden. Roadblock was amazing. It was basically a premium live event on television. Go back, watch the whole show. I know I tell you sometimes to check this match out, check that match out. Go back, watch the entire show. We had Stephanie Vaquer beating Julia, becoming double champ, women's North American champion, women's NXT champion. Stephanie Vaquer is the one going in to stand and deliver. Excellent match. between the two of them, and just a great night all around. And I can't wait to see what Stephanie Vaquer does as the centerpiece of that division, the true centerpiece of that division. We had teases for debuts on SmackDown, all kinds of wild speculation. I'll let the internet do what the internet does on that one. And also, shout out to Andrew Schultz, who not only got pulled into the action on Monday Night Raw, but then went on his podcast and kept the talk going. Kept that shit talk going with Logan Paul. Let's build. Let's get Andrew Schultz on the roster too. Why not? Why don't we get Andrew Schultz on the roster too? Hey, maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you didn't like it at all. If you do, email me. NotSamWrestling@gmail.com. Our email address is NotSamWrestling@gmail.com. Let's get to some emails. This one's coming from Abo. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Hope you're good. Emailing in from London. Chip, cheerio. I wanted to ask, who was the last heel that you truly hated or disliked? The last I can remember viscerally hating was mid-2000s JBL, but as I've gotten older, I've not had that feeling as much. Okay, the last heel that I hated for all the right reasons. I think Baron Corbin is a great example of that. But I think the last heel that I really didn't like, and it's only because he was so good at what he was doing, was probably 2019 era Sam Roberts. Probably 2019 Sam Roberts on those pre-shows. That was the last heel that I truly hated. And to this day, a lot of people still haven't caught up to what that guy was doing. So great performance. Let's go to Oliver, who's writing in. Hello, my OPTC. I love you and acknowledge you. And we say... I was just told by my parents that my present for getting accepted to some top-end universities and graduating high school was going to WrestleMania, and luckily enough, I'll be there Thursday for the pod. My only question was if people under 18 are allowed, because I know these comedy clubs have strict rules. I don't know what the rules of that club are. It's always the rule of the club. It's never my rule. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care if you're 5 years old, if you're buying a ticket, come on in. Either way, I mean, come on. You graduated high school. You're going into a great college. You're getting to WrestleMania. You're smart enough to be able to get into that club, whether you're 18 or not. You do you. And congratulations, by the way. Raj from Queens writes in, do you think we will have a repeat of Rock versus Hogan at WrestleMania 18, at WrestleMania 41, where the crowd cheers Cena and boos Cody? Okay. A lot of people have presented this and said, well, what if John Cena gets cheered? We're not in that era anymore. John Cena is not getting cheered. John Cena is getting booed at WrestleMania. And as much fun as we'll be having, because we are now, the audience that the WWE has now, I think is a developed audience that likes to do what we've been advocating for so long. I mean, 10 years ago, the call to action on this show, before we had the 3 rules, now it's watch the product, speculate wildly, and everything counts. But the original rule was simply boo the bad guys. And the reason that boo the bad guys is no longer a rule of Not Sam Wrestling is because turn on the TV. People boo the bad guys. People cheer the good guys. And it's because of the storytelling, and it's because of the people that are in that position. People love to cheer Cody Rhodes. People are happy to boo John Cena. I believe that the storytelling going into WrestleMania will be effective enough that the villain will get booed and the hero will get cheered. People said, coming off of WrestleMania 39, I'm not even going to say people. Dave LaGreca said it. Everybody said this. They said, why would you have Cody lose in Los Angeles? WrestleMania 40 is in Philly. Cody's going to lose momentum in the year between WrestleMania 39 and WrestleMania 40. And he's going to get to Philly, where they're going to boo Cody Rhodes because he's a white meat babyface. However, what happened in Philly? They love Cody. They were there for it because they're booing the bad guys and they cheer the good guys. I believe that Cody's momentum is going to grow and grow as we see the interactions between John Cena and Cody Rhodes. And I 100% believe that John Cena will get booed and Cody Rhodes will get cheered at WrestleMania. Let's see. Mark writes in, hello, my PTC and wise man on all things wrestling. Fatu. Raw left me with questions. In a Punk versus Seth versus Roman match, who's the heel? Do you think the favor will come into play? Number one, it doesn't matter who the heel is. The heel is the heel. Just like the story is all that matters. And like I said, I kind of broke down the story and the feelings and the animosity, and it goes. You don't always need babyface heel, especially in a triple threat scenario. And do I think the favor will come into play? I do. I personally do. And it's the same if Io meets Bianca and Rhea at WrestleMania. Who's the heel? Again, it doesn't matter. Cheer who you're going to cheer in those scenarios, especially in triple threat scenarios. Heel babyface matters even less in a triple threat scenario because it's three people anyway. It's not good guy versus bad guy. It's either good guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, good guy, bad guy, tweener, like whatever. And it doesn't matter. Sometimes there will be like, clearly this person is a bad guy. Clearly this person is a good guy. But other times it just works out the way it works out. And finally, and you're lucky, I'm going through all your questions. Usually it's one. If Jacob faces Strowman, will Jimmy Uso face LA Knight or his brother Solo? Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't know. Well, it's going to be Jacob and Strowman on SmackDown this week. So unless they're building to another, I don't know. I feel like Jimmy and Jacob will both face LA Knight. I don't know. Good question. Sam writes in, what a name. Hi, Sam, my podcast, OTC. Last week I submitted an email about Cena that was too wordy and you opted to not read it in full. I understand the error of my ways, and I will give you a much shorter email this week. Maybe I'm still in my heel era. How involved would you like to see Travis Scott in this storyline? Would it be better to have him tag along or be immersed into it like Mike Tyson did? I think a cool way for him to flex his talents is to have him do a diss track collab with Cena to add to this feud and heel turn. You know, I think that I don't think John Cena should be recording music because that's too likable. You know, I don't know. I mean, how much do I want? I want Travis Scott to be involved as much as is good. You know, I think ultimately it's a decoration. Ultimately, it's a cherry on top. Ultimately, you have plenty with Cody and Cena combined where you don't need anything else. But this isn't about need sometimes. It's about, you know, extra accoutrement. And, you know, it's like extra cup holders in the car. I only needed 2, but I'd love to find out there's 7. So I don't think that, see, Mike Tyson was a little bit different because Mike Tyson was an athlete. Mike Tyson was this, like, if you told me Mike Tyson was going to be in a match, it'd be incredible. Like, you know, I don't think that Travis Scott is going to jump in the ring and knock anybody out unless they're already on the floor, but that's because Travis Scott is not a fighter. He's a musician. I think that he should probably be part of the entourage. But, you know, I don't need him to be a special referee or anything like that. And I don't think it would make sense if he was a special referee. He's already declared on whose side he's on. Let's see. John writes in, on Thursday's Bennington, Earl was talking about how he loves the Tony Storm Mariah May feud. I didn't know that. Sam, you know what to do. Earl, you dog. Oh, Earl from Bennington. Oh, he loves that. Okay. I mean, look, it's a great feud, but you dog, Earl. You dog. Will writes in, so this is A. Reno from Oklahoma. Okay, whatever. On today's WWE path, I see a lot of similar things to the Attitude Era, being reimagined only with different characters. Do you agree? Or are you seeing something else? Not really. I mean, I think that the Attitude Era, you know, there was so much happening week to week that it's not like in the Attitude Era, people were reaching back years to tell stories. Like, the difference between WrestleMania 13 and WrestleMania 14 is night and day. 14 and 15, night and day. 15 and 16, night and day. Like, the Attitude Era was crazy how fast it was moving. If you look at it, say the first real WrestleMania, the beginning of the Attitude Era where it really kicks in is probably WrestleMania 14. By WrestleMania 15, it's looking very different. WrestleMania 16, which is WrestleMania 2000, it's a whole different world. WrestleMania 17 has very little connection. And then by WrestleMania X8, what are we even talking about anymore? So, no. I mean, in terms of like how much there is to talk about, maybe. In terms of how good the characters are, sure. But no, I think that the Attitude Era is amazing and it exists in its own world. And I think the era that we're in right now is amazing and exists in its own world. And I think that's okay. Heidi from St. Louis writes in, I was watching the new Raw Recap podcast after our OTC returned, and you said this isn't the time for wild speculation. Since now is always the time for wild speculation, that comment got me thinking, are there different rules for Raw Recap than there are for Notsam Wrestling? If so, what are they? This is a great question. Love everything you do and can't wait for when the WWE comes to St. Louis so maybe I can come to a live show. Do we need Heidi? Do we need a live Notsam Wrestling for Backlash? Heidi, do we need to do a live podcast for Backlash? You tell me, Heidi. You tell me what we need to do. But I did say that on the Raw Recap, and I remember doing that as a wink because wild speculation, this is the place for it, right? We speculate wildly on Notsam Wrestling. That's what we should be doing. We watch the product, we speculate wildly, and everything counts. To me, Raw Recap is much more of a feelings-based program. Notsam Wrestling is not a feelings-based program. Notsam Wrestling Emergency Podcast is a feelings-based program. Notsam Wrestling Collector's Edition, something else completely. There's Notsam Wrestling, there's Notsam Wrestling Emergency Podcast, there's Notsam Wrestling Collector's Edition. Those are the three podcasts that we have under the Notsam Wrestling banner. And then there's Raw Recap, which is the cousin of Notsam Wrestling as far as I'm concerned. Raw Recap follows far more in line with Notsam Wrestling Emergency Podcast in the sense that Megan and I are literally doing Raw Recap right after Raw goes off the air. Like, we are watching Raw in the Notsam studio. And within 5 minutes of that show going off the air, we're running and we're doing the show. So we don't have time for proper analysis. Proper wild speculation requires analysis. It requires some thought. Raw Recap is more feelings. So that's kind of where I associate all of it. Does that make sense? Let me know if it does. You got a lot to get back to me on. Dr. Charlotte writes in. First, I want to acknowledge you as our podcast final boss. Love the show. I guess that was maybe established at the Elimination Chamber press conference. If you know, you know. I wanted to give another perspective about why Roman pulled up on the cage match the way he did. He pulls Seth out of the cage knowing that once again, Seth fails to pin or submit Punk. I really feel that's why neither one of them wanted to leave the cage. But with CM Punk, I believe I heard Roman say an eye for an eye. The reason he pulled Seth out was not only to give him the beatdown, but Roman took something from CM Punk. Prior to Monday, Punk was undefeated at MSG. I did bring that up on the Raw Recap. He was 4-0. Now he's 4-1. Okay, so the same reason Punk, I don't mind that. Punk eliminated Roman, caused him to lose the Rumble. Now Roman pulls Seth out of the cage, causes Punk to lose, but doesn't want Rollins to leave looking like a winner, so he tries to end him right there. I think it was Michael Cole who mentioned it on his entrance because everything counts. I've been thinking about it all week. He did, and there was a Chiron that said 4-0. That's why I wrote it down and mentioned it on the Raw Recap. This is good stuff, Dr. Charlotte. No wonder you're a doctor. You're a very smart lady. Pulling Seth out of the cage was revenge for Punk, throwing Roman out at the Rumble match, effectively disrupting our Tribal Chief's road back to WrestleMania and his title. The Paul and CM Punk interaction just added more fuel to that already burning fire. Would love your thoughts. I love that. I think it's great, Dr. Charlotte. I think that's a great call. I think that, and I think Roman was kind of done. That's why the beatdown was for Rollins. I don't think he was planning on going back into that cage and beating up CM Punk. I think it was like, okay, you made me lose. Now I made you lose. We're even. I don't really care about you anyway, Punk. I'm here to beat up Seth Rollins. Oh, you're hanging out with my wise man? Okay, I'm going to teach you not to hang out with my wise man. And boom. That's also why that beatdown for Punk was less intended for Punk and more intended for Paul Heyman to see, this is what I do. You sure you want to hang out? This is what happens. Keep hanging out with Punk. This is what I'm going to do to your guy. Keep doing it. I love it. I think we're on the same page, Dr. Charlotte. Andy writes in, hello, my original podcast tribal chief. I love you, Sam. Fatu! With Cena and Rock teaming up and the possible triple threat match for Roman, Seth, and Punk, I feel that we may be getting Shield versus Authority 2.0 after Mania 40. Roman and Seth versus what? Rock and Cena? WrestleMania after WrestleMania versus Authority 2.0. After Mania 40 was the end of a story, but 41 is the start of a new one. Betrayal is going to be in the back of everyone's mind, but the possibility of the OTC, Seth, and Punk teaming to take down Rock, Cena, I'm going to say Drew could be, I don't know. I think you're reaching, Andy. I think you're not. Talk to Dr. Charlotte about that. I think you're reaching. Kelton writes in, after watching SmackDown, I noticed Paul Heyman's pocket square was multicolored. Could be a reach, but in the era where everything counts, could Heyman turn on Roman and Punk to align with Seth Rollins? I do not see that coming. Mike writes in, from the island of relevancy known as Pensacola, not Sam. I acknowledge my podcast tribal chief. I have two ideas for Cena on his final run. First, his entrance music should change to his song Bad Man while he's a heel. That's possible. Second, he should face Randy for his last match, and the finish should be Cena putting up Randy for an AA. After the flip, Randy turns it into an RKO out of nowhere. Pins Cena, ended his career. I mean, I don't know. I think that, I don't know. We don't call spots here, You're talking about a match happening in December and you want to call the final spot. I've always thought that Cena's last match should be with Randy Orton, but I'm not ready to lay the spots out yet. All right, this is going to be our last email of the day. Zach writes in, have you been impressed with the bullies for Jey Uso versus Gunther since Jey won the Royal Rumble? I honestly expected Jimmy Uso and Ludwig Kaiser to get more involved. I figured we'd have some singles matches between Jey Uso and Ludwig Kaiser and Jimmy Uso and Gunther, as well as tag team match to, I don't know. I mean, Ludwig Kaiser and Gunther separated a while back. No, not really. I didn't think that would happen at all. I think this is Jay's fight to fight. And I think, Gunther sent Ludwig Kaiser on his way a long time ago. Gunther specifically said, go find your own way. If Gunther then brings Ludwig Kaiser back in, it's like, why did you say that before? Everything counts. So, I mean, you can't expect Ludwig Kaiser to be involved in Gunther's business anymore. Gunther said, Ludwig Kaiser, you should not be involved in my business anymore. And as for Jimmy Uso, I think Jay's been doing this all on his own so far, and I think that's what the fight should be. Now, if Jay beats Gunther, I think Jimmy should be there to celebrate with him. But no, I wasn't thinking the Usos are going to team back up, because also if the Usos start teaming back up on the road to Jay becoming World Heavyweight Champion potentially, then you're kind of taking the steam out of Jay becoming the World Heavyweight Champion by giving us the Usos again. A lot of people want to see the Usos back together again. But Jay's story of proving that he's his own man, I mean, this whole thing is based on the Roman Reigns, which one are you? Literally, Gunther called him a tag team wrestler. So if Gunther said you're a tag team guy, you're not built for this, then why would Jay go, oh, really? We'll get a tag team partner. We'll have a tag team match. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Hey, man. But I appreciate all the emails. I appreciate you guys hanging out today. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Notsam Wrestling. Comment, like. Don't forget to subscribe to any audio platform that you want to get Notsam Wrestling from. Don't forget to watch Raw Recap first thing Tuesday morning. It might come out even earlier this week since Raw is on Europe time, and we'll be able to record it earlier. And yes, we'll be here always because we're Notsam Wrestling. Get your tickets for the live Notsam Wrestling show Thursday, April 17th in Las Vegas at the Comedy Cellar. We'll see you there. Have a good one, everybody.